Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where this week I've been living with this 2026 Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy all-wheel drive. This is now the second generation of Hyundai's flagship SUV, and boy have they made some changes for the 2026 model year and the second generation of the Palisade. But one important thing they have kept. Now, gone is the 3.8 liter, but the V6 has stayed, granted in smaller capacity, I suppose, for emissions reasons and other things. But power has stayed about the same. It's actually down a few horsepower. This now makes 287 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, down from the 291-ish horsepower, I think it was, with the 3.8, and the 262 pound-feet of torque. It's also put on a bit of weight. This is now nearly a 2.5-ton SUV. This weighs 4,900 pounds, up from the 4,400 that the old one weighed. So from the surface, it's heavier and less powerful, but heavier for good reason as well. It's much more luxurious inside. This is the Calligraphy trim, as tested today, about $58,000, starts at $54,000, and the Palisade itself for 2026 starts just under $40,000. So you don't have to spend $60,000 for your flagship Hyundai, but if you would like to, Hyundai will wrap lots of interior bits in leather and paint lots of exterior bits in exterior color. Speaking of exterior color, this is finished in what Hyundai calls classy blue, but I suppose it's more salty blue today. As you can see, it's winter in Michigan and everything is just absolutely covered and coated in salt, but the sun is out, which is a bit rare, so you can actually see the metallic flake in this classy blue. They've got a pretty good color palette. It's funny, there's classy blue and they have another color called creamy white, so I don't know. Anyway, but there are some good colors. There's some greens, some bronzes, and actually inside we have a brown interior, so the spec on this is quite nice. Check that out. It's like a Delta Biscoff cookie in there. And we'll get to that in just a second, but I want to talk about the exterior design because this is completely new. I mean, this doesn't share anything, at least that you can see, with the old Palisade, and I think this finally looks like what they were going for the Palisade, because this is kind of supposed to be the car that you buy if you want something higher end but don't want to spend like $80,000 or $90,000 on a BMW X5 or a Mercedes GLE or an Audi Q7. You save yourself some money and still get some decent luxuries with the Palisade. And I think from the outside and the inside, this looks quite luxurious, and I'm proud of Hyundai for leaving their badge on this. They're proud of it. It's got one on the hood, it's got it on all four wheels. They haven't put the stupid Morse code on the outside. They are proud of what they've done, and I love that. So let's poke around this. It's quite cold. I would like to get in, but I do want to give you the full tour of this, especially since this is brand new. This isn't just a facelift or something. This is an entirely new generation. Now, this is a 3-row SUV. As you can see, this one is configured as a 2-2-3, so that would be seven-seater. Under the trunk floor here, we've got some things. We've got our brush to be able to get the snow off of this when it snows and things, but most importantly, you've got some compartments to store stuff. Now, these third-row seats do fold down. Unfortunately, they are power, which means they take, I don't know, 15 seconds instead of a second to fold down. But once they are down, still going down, there you go. There is actually a pretty good amount of room in the back of this Palisade, enough for many of me, I would say. I could scoot up here. Yeah, I could fit a couple of me back here. Obviously just using myself for scale, but if you're putting large boxes or whatever in here, the load surface isn't super high either. I'm going to put these third row seats back up because I want to see what they're like to sit in as well, not just to sit on. So while those fold back up, we'll shut this and we'll get into the back. Quick pit stop at the wheels and tires. The Calligraphy gets these special wheels on a Pirelli Scorpion all season. Interesting. And this is a 265/45 R21. I remember the days when people used to pay many dollars to put 21-inch wheels on their SUVs, and now Hyundai just puts them on from the factory. I actually like the way these wheels look, jokes aside. And they are, yeah, I said they're unique to the Calligraphy. In the back seat, very big back door, almost like an old BMW 7 Series, and also like a 7 Series, we've got sunshades. Let's use our one-touch feature to then wait 30 seconds for the second row to get out of the way. This is one of those things in cars, I don't think it's better. And this is actually unique to the Calligraphy. They all have this little button on the second row to be able to move the seat out of your way, but only the Calligraphy has power second row seats, which means it just takes like 10 times as long. The other ones, you hit it, it unlatches itself and it just flies forward. Anyway, let's jump into the third row and see what this is all about. Now the Palisade is kind of purpose built for this, so I imagine it'll have enough room back here. And actually don't mind having these headrests up because this has an camera rear view mirror, so it doesn't matter if you can't see out the back. There you go. All right, well, at 5'11", sat behind the second row here, I have enough room, and unlike the Kia Sorento I was just driving, my knees are not in my face, so that's good. I mean, the floor is a little bit high, and I think it would get tiresome if I was back here for a long trip, but short trips would be okay. And the Calligraphy and some of the other lower trims get heated third row seats. Check that out. And I've got a button here to move my third row seat. A power third row seat. How about that? That's as far back as it goes. But that's pretty neat, actually. I don't know that I've seen that before. You've got some map lights and things back here. And I imagine, yep, there's a USB-C port there and over there. So everyone can stay plugged in and be on their phones, I guess, in the car. Actually, we should talk about what we're doing today. So we're going to do pretty much a normal thing. We're going to run into town. I'm going to put some fuel into this because I'm giving it to the Topher tomorrow. So I want to make sure he's got a full tank. And then we're going to stop at the store and grab a couple of things. Really just see what this is like to live with. It's actually a little bit later in the day right now. It's almost 4 o'clock, which means the sun is setting in Michigan this time of year. It's quite depressing, but at least we have sun. But I actually spent this morning out about an hour away in Metro Detroit delivering sourdough and cookies to the couple of fleet companies that help us get these press cars. A lot of you ask, how do you get all of these cars? And it is through a couple of companies that deliver them to us on a weekly basis. So without them, obviously, we can't do what we do. So brought some goodies that Emily made, and I was also able to spend some more time in this and develop some more driving impressions. But anyway, in the second row here, I showed you the sunshade. Otherwise, materials in here, quite nice. This is all finished in Nappa leather in the Calligraphy model. Got these fold-down armrests that ratchet. You can put them exactly where you want. And of course, this is a power second row seat. A little bit hard to reach, though. I'm having to hit my arm on this door panel to be able to reach the power setting. So maybe it would make a bit more sense to have those on the door panel. Got a Bose sound system in here, Alcantara headliner, 2 seat back pockets. You can put this passenger seat into relax mode and also move it from back here if you're being chauffeured. Can give yourself some more leg room. Love to see that. And then since this center console is all sorts of futuristic and has all sorts of cubbies and things, the climate control panel is on the roof. So we have these vents here as well to aim at ourselves, and heated and ventilated second row seats too back here. So that's nice to see. Before we jump up front, let's show you this 3.5 liter V6. Which, from what I can tell, is the only reason that Hyundai is able to sell this for the $50,000 mark, or really, starting under 40 grand. Because, and you can see it looks quite puny in there, it does feel a bit underpowered, and of course we'll talk about this a bit more once we're on the road, but just to reiterate, 287 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque, in a nearly 5,000 pound SUV. This has an 8-speed automatic, and this particular one is H-Track all-wheel drive. But what I like about this is Hyundai will sell you front-wheel drive in any trim except the XRT Pro, which means you can get a Calligraphy and save a couple of grand getting front-wheel drive if you live somewhere where it doesn't snow, and you save some weight as well. The front-wheel drive one probably feels a bit more sprightly, but this is the Calligraphy all-wheel drive. It's got everything. It's the heaviest one. But you don't get a power bump or anything. So there you go. One thing I will say is I do think it's cool that Hyundai kept a V6, because some of the other cars in this class are slowly switching to turbocharged 4-cylinder. So I like a V6, but maybe give it some more power. They could have figured out a way to make the 3.8 liter a bit more efficient. Maybe that engine was just a bit too old, but you know, that was only like 4 more horsepower, so I don't really think that that would have helped too much either. Up front, you can see we have calligraphy script on our headrests. Again, these are Nappa leather seats. This interior is just called brown. They don't mess around with giving the interior a silly name like they do for the exterior paint color. Cabin is pretty well insulated, and we have the comfort access for our front seat, our driver's seat. This calligraphy has acoustic glass, so it is a little bit quieter than other models. Let's go ahead and start it up, which you do from the shifter, you can see here. Firing this up, first thing you notice, wireless Apple CarPlay, which connects very quickly. I don't think the first gen Palisade ever had wireless CarPlay, so finally we have that in here. But I would say the most striking bit of this entire interior is this dashboard, which I got to give Hyundai some credit, because a lot of manufacturers are putting the infotainment screen on top of the dash, but they've managed to design this in a way where it's kind of encapsulated in the dash. And I think the overall design kind of reminds me of like a car from the 1950s, and in the best way. I mean, this kind of curved design, very high dash line, or maybe sort of like a jukebox. I don't know. It's some very cool design language going on here. And then at night, it glows onto this wood trim. I'll insert a clip of that so you can see. But it is quite high class in here, and they were definitely not skimping on materials and design language in this second gen Palisade. Down in the center console, pretty good usable space, wireless charger, 2 cup holders. You've got the split folding armrest, which similar to the new Santa Fe, has the UVC cleaning thing. So if I want to clean my beanie there, I can put that on and it will sanitize it, but I don't need that, so we'll turn that off. But it's meant as like a phone sanitizer thing. Otherwise, we've got very smart integrations of climate control and other things up here. Lots of buttons and everything's separate. Not everything lives in the screen. We've got a physical dimmer switch over here as well with 100 settings. See that there? We're on number 69. I guess we'll leave it there because that's where it was. But you've got 100 different brightness settings in the Palisade. Volume knob, hazard switch front and center, climate control panel, heated steering wheel and seat. That all lives right there. But the interior does seem to be designed with people in mind. Got drive modes here as well as terrain modes, since this is the all-wheel drive variant. Front-wheel drive cars don't get the terrain modes, but we've got snow, mud, and sand. I've been leaving this in normal mode this week, and we'll talk some more about that once we're on the road. Camera, rearview mirror, regular sunroof shade. We've got a pano roof in the back, which you use one of these switches up here to let light in, but I like that this just has a regular shade in the front. You don't have to go through the mess of waiting for that to open or having it break in 10 years or whatever. Digital gauge cluster. This Palisade is rated at 20 mpg combined. This week I've been doing about 18, which is its city rating. It's rated at 24 on the highway. While this V6 is less powerful, it is supposedly a bit more efficient than the 3.8, but I mean, it's still getting 18 miles per gallon, so I don't think I would call that efficient. Into reverse on our column shifter, which I didn't like this at first. I think this debuted in the Ioniq 5, and I always hated it, but now, actually, I quite like it. I've got pretty good, clear quality backup camera and 360 camera on this. No complaints there. Into drive, front camera pops up, and you actually have a physical button for the cameras over here, too, if you want those to come up when you're pulling up to a curb or whatever. When you start driving, normal soft inputs like you would find in any big Hyundai product. Steering is very light, though not the lightest I've felt. But it's light enough to keep the kind of luxury whiff in here. Brake pedal feels nice, coming up to the speed bump. And ride quality is great as well. Just fixed dampers here in this. When you peel away this outside layer, this is a pretty simple car, and I do like that. Naturally aspirated V6, 8-speed automatic, fixed suspension, available front-wheel drive. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to go wrong with this. There's not a whole lot of technology hiding underneath this skin that looks otherwise pretty technologically advanced. We have auto stop start. I'm going to turn that off because it's too cold today, and we're going to get out in front of this Pacifica. Smooth shifts from that 8-speed automatic, and you do have to give it a bit of a bootful to get off the line with any sort of pep in your step, I suppose. You do just get the sense that there's really not that much torque under your right foot because there isn't. So you'll find yourself revving this thing out quite a bit, but the one thing that's been frustrating for me, and we'll probably demonstrate it right now, coming around a corner at 1300 RPM, it doesn't then downshift until you give it more throttle input, and then it really downshifts and revs itself out to 5000 RPM. So the transmission tuning, I don't know that it's as intelligent as I would like it to be in normal mode. Obviously, you can go into sport. That's eco. There's sport. And it sharpens things up a bit, but I mean, I don't really want to be driving around in sport mode with this holding gears and making my steering heavy. I don't have any interest in that. So the normal programming would like to see some improvement with that, just to kind of compensate for this, I don't want to say lack of power, but, you know, just kind of under 300 horsepower, 5,000 pound SUV. It probably should be holding gears or downshifting a little bit more when you slow down. I mean, chassis and everything, it feels okay, but that's not what this is about. You know, this is a big family SUV. It's just meant to like float down the highway. But in an emergency situation, or even just if you're on a canyon road, you are able to take corners in this with confidence. Front end doesn't wash out. I'll take this corner. Again, though, even in sport mode, we had to drop a gear coming out of there. We do have paddle shifters. You can control this 8-speed automatic yourself, which maybe that's the way. Just manually shift your Palisade and that gets rid of your problems. Let's very quickly stop and see how this gets off the line. There is 60. Supposedly happens in about 8 seconds, and I believe them. Absolutely do. In fact, I probably would have guessed it a bit slower, to be honest. Okay. See, this is what I'm talking about, is like, it's never ready to go. It just wants to fart around at like 1500 RPM all day. It's constantly shifting into the highest gear possible, which I get because it's trying to be efficient because it's a V6. I understand that part. While this V6 is a bit sluggish, it does seem to be very smooth. The idle is nice, and then also it's not a very loud engine or buzzy or anything. It does a pretty good job existing in the background even when it is straining itself. Turn signal camera's there. Always a good little bonus to be able to check your blind spots. Another thing is, no matter what, like even if you're coming out of a corner and the car has to downshift and drop a few gears, the 8-speed does a very good job compensating in a smooth manner. Like, it's not breaking my neck downshifting or upshifting. I haven't had a single rough shift from this at all this week. And I've done 168 miles in it. Fuel economy is down a bit now to 17.8. And we're going to make it worse. Camera mirror. That works nice and looks nice. You know, I was giving this thing the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of the week because I thought maybe it just has to learn my driving style. Like maybe the last couple of people that drove this were just, you know, driving 30 miles an hour everywhere. But no, it hasn't. It has not adapted whatsoever. So I think that's just the way that it is. Anyway, though, this is where the Palisade redeems itself, and that is on the highway. I spent a lot of time on the highway earlier, about 2 hours combined. And it is just a lovely thing to sit in here. This Nappa leather seat is very cozy and gets very hot. I'm actually going to turn that heated seat off because it is boiling me. The steering wheel is nice as well. This is exclusive to the Calligraphy trim, having the two-tone leather on here, and it's got 2 heated settings. It gets very hot, though. I don't think it gets as hot as the Kia Sorento steering wheel, which was actually burning my hands off last week. But it's good to have 2 settings. But the real treat here is just the overall highway manners of this SUV. You know, it just sort of floats along. Ride quality is lovely, very supple. It does feel quite big, but you know, that's to be expected. But the comfort level here, and also things like visibility and ergonomics, you know, that all plays a part in you being comfortable and not being anxious. You never really feel anxious in the Palisade because everything is within reach. Everything is soft. Everything is in control. Until actually you use the lane change assist, which we'll show you. So this has Hyundai's Highway Driving Assist 2. That's Calligraphy only. So, you know, normal suite of stuff, steering assist, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise. But this has what they call lane change assist, which we'll show right now. Except we won't because somebody else has decided to pass and this is now taking too long to get itself up to speed. Come on. Come on. Okay. Why don't we make a lane change to the right? Let's do that. So this will, steering input detected. Here's the thing. It's very hard to get this to do a lane change for you to the point where it's 100 times easier to just do a lane change yourself. But I'm trying to do one to demonstrate. And it's proving to be very hard in this what is becoming rush hour traffic because it's about 4 o'clock. Let's try one more time to get this to do a lane change to the right. There you go. It's doing it. It's doing it. It's done it. Yep. Good job. Okay. Way too complicated. And if it senses the slightest steering input, it cancels everything altogether. It's just such a stupid implementation of technology that is just simply not needed. If you're going to put a lane change assist in a car, make it so I put the turn signal on and the car does the lane change. See, this won't do that because it can tell that my hands aren't on the wheel. So it's just going to sit here. It'll leave its turn signal on. Okay, now it knows my hands are on the wheel. Now it'll do the lane change. I suppose the only thing that this makes easier is that you don't have to check your blind spot when changing lanes. But you should instinctively be doing that anyway. So I don't know. Too much. But apart from that, everything seems to do okay. The adaptive cruise control, it's a little bit nervous. Gonna make another lane change. Checks around it, canceled it. Yep, there you go. Canceled it because it thought I was giving a steering input, which you kind of have to because you have to have your hands on the wheel. All right, let's turn all the stuff off. There you go. This is usually like my favorite lighting in the summer to do videos, you know, a golden hour, but it's just not the same in the winter. I feel like it's very harsh. And also it's 4 o'clock and the sun is setting, so it's just not as magical. Anyway, we'll be back to that soon in about 4 months. Ergonomics in here for elbows are good, though your surfaces are not as soft as I would like. Actually, the split folding bit of the armrest is very soft, but you're really only going to be resting your elbow on that if you're about 6'5". If you're any shorter than that, you're on this harder surface that's in front of the split folding armrest. And then the driver's door panel also pretty hard. I would maybe like to see that be a little bit softer. See that there? Give it like 10% throttle, it's got to drop like 3 gears to be able to go. So the way to solve this, I think, and I haven't driven it yet, but that's buying the Palisade Hybrid, which came out after this, which it's a bit more complicated. I understand that, but I think it would solve the only problem I have with this. So it's got a 2.5 turbo 4-cylinder with an electric motor, of course, because it's an hybrid. And it makes like 80 more horsepower than this V6 variant. And like quite a bit more torque as well. So, and it only weighs about 100 pounds more. So I think the trade-off there is a good deal. And we're gonna have to sneak in here. My goodness, what a nightmare. This is why we don't come over here at 4 o'clock, because it sucks. But hey, this is the real world test. Should be using this full lane, but we were kind of screwed by the people in front of us. That's okay, we're in now. Even though we have a 21-inch wheel on this, the sidewall is thick enough to soak up expansion joints, potholes, things. The roads are crumbling right now. It's currently 34, so it's above freezing. So we had lots of freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw. The roads are destroyed, but I'm happy to be in this. But Hyundai will also sell you what they call the XRT Pro, which is the off-roady version of this. We drove it actually at Hollyoaks, did some off-roading. You can see that video over on the Topher channel. So I'm a little bit torn on this throttle response, because part of me wants to say it's terrible, but also I think it's really trying its best to compensate with the transmission tuning just for the lack of power. But you do sometimes jump a little bit when you're going off the line, so you do have to be careful with how much throttle you give this. Right, I actually meant to pull in there because I never learned my lesson with the Shell station up here. I always pick a pump that is only able to fill at like 1 gallon per every 5 minutes. So the next fuel station we pass, we're going to pull in and put about half a tank in this. Looks like total fuel range for this would be just about 300 miles if you're doing this 18 mpg that I've been doing, which is not very good, in my opinion. Where's the next fuel station? We might have to get fuel after we go to the store. I know there's one up here on the right. I will not go to the Shell station again and get burned again with a bad pump. All right, let's pull this into the store, which is bound to be just as busy as the roads, but that's okay. See how big this feels in the parking lot. You know, I thought at the beginning of the week that the steering ratio on this was a little bit too slow, but I think it's actually just right. I think if it was any quicker, you'd be feeling like an Alfa Romeo Stelvio, where it's just way too quick for an SUV. So I think this is good. I think the weight here is nice. It's just light enough, and then also the ratio is good too. See that one hand over hand to make this turn. I think we'll go next to this, what is that, a Scion IM with RPF ones. Oh dear, sorry to the Ford Flex that is trying to back up. Let's quickly get into this spot so they can go. Easily in a spot. I just made this person's life so much harder, and I feel pretty bad about it, actually. Sorry, Grandma. Okay, into park. Parking brake engaged automatically. And we shut that off. I actually don't mind the location of that, too. I have been hitting the drive mode selector occasionally, trying to turn the car off, but I think that's actually in a pretty good spot. Let's see how we fit into this. Takes up pretty much the whole spot. These are pretty shallow here, but we're kind of in line with the curb. But plenty of room for this person in the Scion IM to be able to get into their car and things. I'm gonna run in, grab some stuff, and then we'll wrap this up. Walking back up to the Palisade with my single bag of groceries, you'll find that it does not have rear proxy key. So you have to go to the front to be able to open the back door, which is mildly irritating. We're just going to stick this in the back seat. No need to put this in the back, as it is just one little bag. So there we go. Let's get out of this parking lot. Try to get all the salt and snow off my feet that I can. And let's go find some fuel. And then that'll just about wrap it up for us. Into drive we go. I'm actually going to go this way today. I'll also test out this Bose sound system for you guys, which is, spoiler alert, pretty good. Palisade does feel pretty big, but with the kind of like squared off front end, you're able to see both ends of the hood, or both sides of the hood rather. We'll make up for our sins earlier and we'll let this escape back out. There you go. See? I'm a nice guy in a parking lot. But anyway, what I was saying is, these people are about to like crash into each other. Oh, and that person's trying to back out too. Welcome to chaos. I probably should like give these people some room, I guess. Just like a big demolition derby happening right now. You can see there are collision warning. Nice. Okay, let's try again to get out of this parking lot. Nice Volvo wagon there. For the third time, what I was trying to say is that it's easy to place this Palisade because you can very easily see the hood. That's our out. Oh, and here is the fuel station I was going to go to. Oh, this is just going to be madness in here too. Yep, you've got a guy reversing. You've got a turkey in that parking spot. Okay, well, we might have to abandon the idea of getting fuel. I think that might be a lost cause for today. I've got half a tank, so we'll be okay. We'll just finish out the rest of the video and we'll go from there. Alrighty guys, we're going to end this one a little bit early and in this nice Ann Arbor neighborhood because the traffic is getting really bad and I don't want to drive this into the city. We tested our maneuverability and things and it's quite alright. So, speed bump. Actually handled that quite alright. You can see. There you go. Okay. Anyway, we're going to find a spot to pull over and wrap this up, but my main impressions from this Palisade are that, yes, they've kind of made this a bit more of what I imagine they set out to do, make this kind of luxury on a budget sort of car, and it does reflect that. But you have to consider that, you know, there's a reason they're able to sell this starting at about 40 grand. So the V6 I think is kind of the weak point of this car. Otherwise, it's quite lovely. I mean, all the materials inside are nice. Everything makes sense and works how it should. Driving dynamics apart from the V6 are fine. It's a car facing the wrong way with nobody in it. Go around them. But why don't we end here at this church? And give you one last look at this. There's spots back here to back into. Yes, there are. How accurate can we be with these cameras? These are pretty vague lines right here. They're very faded, but I think we're good. Okay. Also, to touch on that Bose sound system, it's pretty good. I mean, I told you guys, you've got some nice highs from these tweeters here, and then some decent power. What I have found over the years with these Bose systems and Harman Kardons also in these Hyundais is that they just don't really have a whole lot of power, but they've been getting better. This one does feel a bit more high-end and fits the vibe of the rest of the car. But I suppose for final thoughts, I quite like the Palisade. I think it could do with a better powertrain, but I think the hybrid solves that. And if you're somebody that is just kind of putzing this thing around, I mean, the V6 isn't going to bother you a ton, but me personally, it does feel underpowered, and the throttle response and things definitely feel like they could use some tweaking. But I'm excited to drive the hybrid because I think that'll make this feel like a bit more of a cohesive package. But for the time being, I think they've got a pretty nice product here, and I'm sure we'll see this continue to develop into the future. This is the first model year of this, so we'll see some changes that bring it up. But that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions about the new Palisade. But that'll be it. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.